Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel, your home for NFL talk here on YouTube. My name is Mike. A lot of the NFL draft rumors and buzz today was surrounded by that Mike Mayock conference call, which I'll get to in a second. I'm going to go through some of Mayock's takes and opinions on players and let you know if I agree or disagree with them. Before we get to that, I think the biggest news regarding the draft that came out today was the fact that Blake Bortles will throw at the Combine. And, he'll throw at the Combine. Okay, some of his chief competition, most notably Johnny Manziel, will not throw at the Combine. To me, for Bortles, this is a little bit of a risk for him to throw, but I like the fortitude and the guts he's showing by throwing at the Combine. I think that's a lot of the sentiment you're seeing out there because, look, he can lose just as much as he can gain from throwing at the Combine. He'll be throwing to receivers that he's not familiar with. Okay, got other guys participating in the Combine. If he does well, though, is he able to crack through what most people think are the top two quarterbacks in this draft in Bridgewater and Manziel? There's some concern from Bortles' standpoint that he's not as polished, certainly as Bridgewater, and maybe not even as much as Manziel, as a matter of fact. So if he can go in there, throw the ball well, interview well, okay, and test out in some of the other physical activities really well, maybe he's able to stake a claim for one of those top three picks in the upcoming draft. But the drawback for him is if he confirms the fact, okay, that he's not ready, that he's not polished enough, maybe that he can't make all the throws, maybe he's not as big as we originally thought, maybe he doesn't run as fast, then you could see him even slide back. So definitely a risk, no mistake about it. This is not a no-risk situation for Bortles. I like that he's throwing. First, because I want to see him throw and see what he's got. But you like to see the progress these guys have made since their college season has ended. But most importantly, I like to see a guy, trying to improve his stock, not staying pat, and trying to stake his claim and say, I'm the best quarterback in this draft, and you guys should be looking at me. I like that, and we'll see if he takes advantage of it. Good luck to Blake Bortles this weekend at the Combine. Now to Mayock's conference call. He had almost a 2-hour and 45-minute conference call today. Give Mayock credit. He answered every single question and phone call that was in his queue to answer. He's a very good analyst in my opinion. I like all the guys. I like, whether it's Daniel Jeremiah or NFL Network Daniel Jeremiah or, Mel Kiper certainly, Todd McShay, and Mike Mayock. They seem to always tell you something, or you seem to always learn a little bit when you're listening to these guys as far as how players are evaluated. And I'm just going to go through these and let you know if I agree with some of his assertions or not. First of all, he said Teddy Bridgewater is the most pro-ready quarterback coming out in the draft. And if you listen to this channel, I 100% agree with that. I have Bridgewater. I flip-flop Bridgewater between my second and third best overall prospect. Okay, I basically have Clowney, Watkins, and Bridgewater 1, 2, and 3. I think that Bridgewater is the most pro-ready quarterback. I think Manziel can start right away, but he still has some areas to improve from the pocket. And Bortles, I've been through the fact that he's just not as polished as the other two. But Bridgewater, definitely 100% in agreement that he's an up-and-comer and a guy who could definitely start from day one. Another thing I agree with Mayock on wholeheartedly, and I've come around to this in the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, is Khalil Mack as a top 5 player in this draft. Look, I look at him as being, besides for Clowney, the best defensive playmaker in this draft. As an edge rusher, okay, but most importantly, what sets him apart from other edge rushers is the fact that he doesn't really have many deficiencies in his game. He can drop back and cover if he needs to. He can play stout against the run if he needs to. He forces turnovers via fumbles, had some interceptions this season as well. A true all-around threat at the edge with the ability to wreak havoc on the quarterback. I have Mack as my 5th rated prospect. Okay, I have Clowney, Watkins, Bridgewater, Greg Robinson, and Khalil Mack. I have Robinson a little higher than some do, but I have Mack a little higher than a lot of people do as well. So I agree with Mayock that Khalil Mack is a top 5 player in this draft. Let's get into some other quarterbacks, most notably some other SEC quarterbacks besides, of course, Johnny Manziel, and that's Zach Mettenberger and A.J. McCarron. Mayock said that Mettenberger, in his eyes, was never a first or second round prospect. I disagree with that. I have Mettenberger, even coming off the ACL, as a very solid second-round prospect in the upcoming draft. I just think, he's right from central casting as far as what you look for a quarterback, build-wise and arm-wise. I guess I saw more development under Cam Cameron last year before he got hurt than Mayock did. But I think he's not a starter right away, but middle, late second round. I think Mettenberger's a guy that some team will jump on as long as his knee checks out okay and he's okay health-wise. A.J. McCarron, Mayock thought was a solid second-round guy. I'm not as down on A.J. McCarron as a lot of people are, but I look at him as more of a maybe late second, very late second to the beginning of the fourth round type prospect. I think the third round is going to be the sweet spot for a guy like a McCarron. Maybe he's brought in to push another young quarterback. Maybe he's brought in as a developmental guy years down the line. Whatever the situation is, I'm not as down on McCarron as some, but I'm not as high on him as certainly Mayock is. So I'll disagree with A.J. McCarron being a solid second-round prospect. Who knows? Maybe when all shakes out, he will be. Right now, though, I'm not seeing it. A unique comparison that Mayock made today that I wanted to be sure to mention. And if you watched my top 5 safeties video yesterday, I made reference to the fact that Calvin Pryor is just, you look at the tape, the guy is just a playmaker. Whatever needs to be done to make a play, he does. And I never drew this parallel before, but Mayock did today, saying that Calvin Pryor reminds him of Bob Sanders. You remember Bob Sanders from the Colts, the excellent safety who was undersized but made a lot of plays. Picture, though, Calvin Pryor is a big guy. He's not smallish like a Bob Sanders. So if you can get a guy in Calvin Pryor who could project like Bob Sanders but stay healthy. Remember, that was the one thing with Sanders. He could never stay healthy. Think about how much of a beast Calvin Pryor could be. And then lastly, guys, one from the Mayock press conference, he compared Coney Ealy to Aldon Smith. That's one comparison I'm not seeing right now. I think I would have to see more from Coney Ealy. I don't see the outside edge speed that I saw with Aldon Smith at Missouri and see with Aldon Smith with the 49ers. I think Aldon Smith is a lot stronger than he gets credit for in terms of setting the edge in the running game, something Coney Ealy has to develop into. I think Aldon Smith was a little bit more polished coming out of school than Ealy is. And Ealy's bigger, too. Ealy's 275 pounds. I believe Smith is 260, 265. So Ealy's definitely a good player, a mid-first round prospect. But we're talking about an all-pro guy in Aldon Smith. So not seeing that comparison yet, but who knows? They did both go to Missouri, though. So that's one thing they both have in common. Guys, let me know what you thought of Mayock's conference call. You couldn't help but see it on Twitter today. It was all over the place. And let me know what you think of Bortles throwing at the Combine. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter as well. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, guys. I do one of these videos every night, but I do a lot of other, cool stuff here on YouTube, all dedicated to the NFL and the NFL draft. So be sure to subscribe. It's completely free. Have a great night.